I have Arizona winning this game. The first game we'll be looking at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, which will start at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, which is 1st of January. I have Arizona State winning this one over Texas. I really like Arizona State's run game and all, especially looking at them in that Big 12 championship with Scadaboo. And they're hot right now, real hot. We're going to look at the matchup predictor from ESPN. They have 79.7% going to the Texas Longhorns and only 20.3 going to the Arizona State. And we're going to look at the season leaders here. From Texas, you have Ewers, 2,867 yards and 26 touchdowns. Missed a couple games, I know for sure. And 10 interceptions, though. That scares me there, especially from a pass-heavy team. But I know he's throwing the ball more, but still got to be better throwing the ball. We're going to look at Leave It for the Arizona State. And 2,663 yards, not a lot, but 24 touchdowns, not a lot either. But the number I like to see is only 5 interceptions on the year. And now the rushing game for the Texas Longhorns, we got Wisner with 973 yards on 191 carries with 5 touchdowns. Also have Scadaboo for Arizona State, 263 carries and taking a lot of the load, 1,568 yards, 19 touchdowns. That's why I have Arizona State winning this game, because even though ESPN and probably everyone else doesn't, because Texas also a really good team and coming out of the SEC. So the next game we have the Rose Bowl game, outdoor game at 5 p.m. on January 1st between Ohio State and Oregon Ducks. I have Oregon winning this one, and Oregon, they just look like an overall just a great team all season, the only team undefeated. And the matchup predictor for this one, they actually have Ohio State 53.7% and Oregon 46.3%, which I'm surprised when seeing that. But Ohio State played a great game last week, especially Will Howard, which we'll get into next with the season leaders. Ohio State passing, we have Will Howard at quarterback, 3,171 yards passing with 29 touchdowns and only 9 interceptions. Good numbers from him. Not able to run the ball too well, but overall, just a good quarterback. For Oregon, you have Dylan Gabriel, Heisman finalist, and he has 3,558 yards passing with 28 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So pretty much about the same numbers with passing, and like Dylan Gabriel has 500 more yards throwing the ball and less interceptions. Reason why Heisman finalist and will be a first-round draft pick in this upcoming draft. Rushing yards, you have Judkins, 157 carries, 839 yards, only 10 touchdowns. Not good running game there. And then you have James for Oregon, 226 carries, so getting a lot of the load for Oregon with 1,253 yards and 15 touchdowns. So, and you see you have Oregon winning this game. ESPN says Ohio State's going to win, but we'll see. I think it will be a great game depending on how Ohio State's offense plays, especially Will Howard. On December 31st, which is New Year's Eve, and I have Boise State winning this one. The matchup predictor on ESPN has Penn State 64.8% and Boise State only 35.2%. And Penn State, also a great team, but Boise State is a big sleeper. I think everyone's just counting them out. Yeah, they're not a Power 5 school and all that. Power 4 school, Pac-12, not a thing anymore. But, Boise State, they have Ashton Jeanty, which we will get in later. Passing yards, we have Aller, Penn State, who said he was coming back next year to play at Penn State, so they should be good again. Has 3,021 yards passing and only 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, while Madsen over at Boise State, only 2,714 yards and only 22 touchdowns, but only 3 interceptions, which we know not a very pass-heavy team too much. But we have, with rushing yards with Penn State, we have Singleton with 928 yards and 8 touchdowns. But we look at Ashton Jeanty, who's really been carrying the big load with Boise State, and the main reason why they're in this college football playoffs. Heisman finalist, 344 carries and 2,497 yards with 29 touchdowns. On pace, if he would get over, I think it's 138 yards in this game coming up, he will break Barry Sanders' rushing record, which would be very cool for Ashton Jeanty, and more than likely going to be a first-round draft pick. Don't know where, though. Don't know what team could use a running back too much. But, yeah, I like Boise State winning this one. Big sleeper in this college football playoffs, I think. The All-State Sugar Bowl, last game of this second round. And I have Notre Dame winning this one, and I'll get into the reason why. But first, we have the matchup predictor, 53.9% for Notre Dame, and Georgia sitting at 46.1% to win this football game. Next, we'll look at the passing yards, but can't really look at Georgia with Carson Beck being out for the rest of the year, having to get Tommy John on that elbow on the injury in the SEC championship. So Gunnar Stockton, the sophomore redshirt, will be playing quarterback, which my thoughts on him is he looked good that first drive, but rest of the game just looked mediocre. But I mean, I know it was a big game, but also this one will be his first start being in a quarterfinal game in the college football playoffs against a Notre Dame team. Don't think it will go too well. But Riley Leonard, 2,293 yards, not too much yards, 17 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. Notre Dame's run game, you have Love with 1,057 yards on only 142 carries. Then with Georgia, Nate Fraser getting most of the touches this season with 129 carries and 634 yards and 8 touchdowns, with Etienne being hurt most of the season. I'm pretty sure he is going to play in this football game, but he hasn't been as he was at Florida last year, not 100% all season long. So yeah, I have Notre Dame winning this one over the Georgia Bulldogs.
So the playoff committee has really messed up here. The playoff bracket, you saw the first round, the teams that got in, all of that. You saw every single game was a blowout. Some of them were a blowout. 2 good teams, though. Just playing at someone else's stadium really causes that. And just not having their best day out there on the field. But SMU, one of the teams, should not have been in the playoffs. I know they only had the 1 loss, but 29th strength of schedule here. We have Miami with the 28th strength of schedule that I think should have been over SMU. I have the Heisman finalists in Cam Ward. And, yeah, they lost to Georgia Tech, but also 7-5, bowl-eligible team. Also Syracuse, current ranked team. That's their 2 losses on the season. And you have Alabama, that I think should be in the playoffs, over Indiana. Indiana with the 23rd strength of schedule. And I think that I think South Carolina should have been in possibly to take somebody's spot. I really liked them towards the end of the season. All their losses were early in the year. I think they won like 6 or 7 in a row towards the end of the year. So, I mean, you could put them in over Indiana or SMU, either way. But Alabama has a second in strength of schedule. It's one reason why I think they should have been in. And they have the 2 losses, to Oklahoma and to Vanderbilt, but both bowl-eligible teams. Both of them were actually, I'm pretty sure, away. Alabama was playing there. So put that in accountability. Both SEC teams. Vanderbilt was upsetting a whole bunch of teams. Oklahoma, always decent team. But, yeah, I really think the playoff committee has really messed up on that part. Also, one thing I don't like that the playoff committee did, Georgia as the easiest path to the college football championship. In Oregon, the undefeated Oregon Ducks have the hardest path to the college football championship. But Georgia has 2 losses, and a lot of those were very close games. Very close. Kentucky lost by 1 point. You have Georgia Tech took them in 8 overtimes. And I'm not just dogging on Georgia because I'm a Tech fan. I'm just stating the truth. Everyone knows it's true. Even Georgia fans should know that. If you're not, you're just delusional. But you can argue Boise State shouldn't have a bye. Well, you couldn't have given it to Clemson. They had 3 losses. Say SMU wins the ACC, yes, give the bye to SMU and make Boise State play in the first round. And remember, Boise's only loss is to Oregon. Yeah, the Oregon Ducks undefeated on the season, and that was a game-winning field goal that Oregon kicked as time expired. So only lost by 3 to the undefeated Oregon Ducks, remember, at Oregon as well. And also, they have number 2 in the backfield, Ashton Jesse, who's carrying the load for Boise State, and I don't think even these Power 4 teams can stop him really at all. So, yeah, that's what I think the playoff committee has really messed up this year. For the first year in the 12-team playoffs, I mean, yeah, they tried their best and everything, but there's always something wrong with it every year. But yeah, it's going to be hard to put teams in the playoffs. You can argue some teams should be in, some teams should be out. It's going to be like that every year. But this year, really, really messed up here. Well, that's it for today. Have a good day, and God bless. And don't forget to put God first. Peace.